think that's going to do it, right? All right. It has a button. Okay. Is everybody here that's going to come? Yes. Did you know of anybody that's on the way? No? Some people on the way? Well, I don't think we can wait for him because I'm running late. We'll do the best we can. It's being recorded, by the way. So this will be available on what channel?
In our OLS YouTube, on our webpage.
Oh, it's going to be on YouTube, and it's going to be under our website and stuff. Make it very easy for you. Got to watch those copyright laws. Okay, we're going to start with St. Luke's Gospel as part of our prayer, and it's the last part of chapter 23, around, am I on the right page? No, I'm on the wrong place, I'm sorry. Chapter 23, the end of chapter 22. It's hard to remember all these numbers. But it's the end of chapter 22, verse 66, around there. When the day came, the assembly of elders of the people, both chief priests and the scribes, gathered together, and they brought him to the council. And they said, "If you are the Messiah, tell us." He replied, "If I tell you, you will not believe. If I question you, you will not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the power of God." All of them asked, "Are you then the Son of God?" And he said to them, "You say that I am." And they said, "What further testimony do we need? We have heard it for ourselves from his own lips." And the assembly rose as a body and brought Jesus before Pilate. They began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man perverting our nation, forbidding us to pay taxes to the emperor, and saying that he himself is the Messiah, a king." The word of the Lord.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard anybody, complaining because someone was preventing them from paying taxes? Almost the opposite, right? Well, anything to accuse him. I imagine that Jesus died because of what he said, what he stood for. And that was enough to condemn him. No mercy. Obviously, no mercy. And this is the year of mercy. A special jubilee, because it ordinarily happens every 25 years. Which was the last one? 2000, right? So we're not supposed to really be there yet. But the Holy Father can do anything he wants. So he said this is the year of extraordinary. Jubilarum extraordinarium misericordiae. Extraordinary Jubilee year. It's always good to have mercy, that's for sure. Fits anywhere, anytime. 7 last words of Christ come directly from the passion narratives of the gospel. They're not a single word, and some people think, well, what are the 7? Well, no, it's rather phrases. Things that Jesus said as he was dying. And from the beginning of time, our imagination has been fascinated with the last moments of a person's life, especially famous people. There are all sorts of quotes from movie stars and artists and singers, quotes of their dying words. Probably the fascination comes from knowing that when a person's about to die, they usually tell the truth. I remember a lot of westerns, the truth. There's a story about a mother superior who was the founder of her order, and she was about to die. This is a joke, of course. Let me get you all here. Anyway, all the novices were running around trying to make her last moments as comfortable as possible. And the Mother Superior asked for a glass of milk. And one of the novices decided that it'd be a good idea to slip a little brandy into the milk. And so the Mother Superior drank the milk, and she sort of sat up, you know, from her dying position, and they all moved in to ask, Mother, what words of wisdom do you have for the world? How would you like us to remember these precious moments? And she said, never sell that cow. Good recipe, no? Sell the cow. We notice that when someone that we love is about to die, a relative or whatever, we all have the tendency to rush to the scene. Even if we have to cross thousands of miles to be there at the person's bedside, then we feel bad when we're not. He had to die alone. He had to die alone. Are we ever alone? Don't each of us have a guardian angel? Does the dying depend on who's there and who's not? Some people want to die alone, you know? A little privacy. Maybe so, I don't know. Might be a person that we haven't seen in years, but all the guilt comes tumbling down at those last moments. The fact is that we give more importance to the last moments than we do to the first moments. People always treat you better whenever you leave than when you get somewhere. It's happened to me. Bon voyage. Glad your voice about time, right? I was 18 years at the last place, so I think they were happy to see me. About time. Happens in life, you know, all the times. For the most part, there are exceptions, so Jesus was an exception. However, if we analyze our Lord's birth, there were fewer people than at his death. But those that gathered for his death were not there to see what his last words were going to be. Rather, they were there to see a crucifixion. Any public execution was excitement. They didn't have the distractions that we enjoy. So any benefit was going to fit the bill. The majority went to see the show. They were spectators. Some might have been followers at one time, but at the crucifixion, remember, everybody ran, beginning with the apostles. They had the most to lose, so they ran. The 7 last words of Jesus might be considered part of his last will and testament, sort of like his last will and testament. His inheritance for us. Those who were close enough to hear remembered what the Lord said and then wrote it down. Most likely candidate was St. John, who then repeated it to the others. But given the fact that this is Jubilee year and has been dedicated to mercy, the topic could not be more appropriate, because mercy is written all over the via dolorosa, from the condemnation to the last breath of Christ. Mercy is why our Lord died for us. Otherwise, we would not have been saved. So are you ready for the first word? Who knows it? Forgive them, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they are doing. It's Luke 23, verse 34. That's where it's taken from. And so Jesus is talking, and he's talking to his Father, Daddy, Abba. And he's talking about everybody who's crucifying him. Ignorance is bliss. You know that? Yes or no? Sometimes it is beneficial not to know. You know? So, in essence, Jesus was saying a fact, declaring a fact, they know not what they're doing. We cannot sin if we are ignorant of the fault we are committing. Impossible to sin. So when someone says in confession, I don't know if what I did was a sin, I stop them and I said, then don't say it. It wasn't a sin. I don't want to hear it. Why are you confessing? You want to have a conversation, that's another reason. But it's not a sin. For a sin, remember, we have to know that something is evil. We have to want to do it. And then we have to do it. Right? If we only have the desire, that's called a temptation. I wanted to kill my mother-in-law. Did you do it? No, but I really wanted to. Then you did not sin. Thanks be to God. And so for your penance, you might take your mother-in-law out to dinner. It's a start, right? It would be a good start. Do something nice for her. For some folks, it might just be to get her picture and start to like her. You know, or your father-in-law, him. That's how we fight evil thoughts. But they don't go away by osmosis. We kind of have to do our part. So if the soldiers had known, St. Paul says, if the soldiers had known whom they were crucifying, they would never have killed the Lord of life. Our Savior Jesus Christ, they would never kill him. To them, he was just a revolutionary, a thief, a criminal, and the soldiers were doing their job. The person who whipped Jesus at the pillar was just doing his job. The one who put the crown of thorns on him was just doing his job. It's a popular way to defend our actions. I was just doing my job. That's what the policeman told me when he wrote out the ticket. Well, somebody has to. No, I'm just kidding. I've been treated very well, especially by public servants. Someone has to pull the switch, right? To this day, capital punishment is carried out by folks who have a job to do.